The No Hunger Games kicked off to a great start with 14 child athletes from as far away as Qwaqwa in the Free State and Messina in the Limpopo provinces coming to participate. The No Hunger Games had a selection of 3 sporting events focusing on ending hunger, preceded by a short press conference where children bore witness to community experiences of hunger and malnutrition. For a better understanding on what prompted such an initiative, I spoke to Debbie Farnaby, Chief Executive Officer of Save the Children South Africa.
You know, it's 65.5% of our children live in poverty. Now, if you think about that in numbers, there are 18 million children in South Africa. That's 12 million children who live in need in this country. And so we really feel it's something that Save the Children needs to get involved in and needs to spend some time with. So this event is being run worldwide by Save the Children. And it's really to say it's the end of the Olympic Games, and we've got a huge focus now on nutrition and the nutritional needs of children. And so what we thought we'd do is we'd just do something fun with this event, which is a No Hunger Games. We'd just have a few fun and games and just really raise some attention to the fact of how many children in our country live in need. So Save the Children does a report called the CDI, the Child Development Index. And unfortunately, South Africa has dropped 24 places on that index in the last decade. Now, South Africa hasn't really changed. If I look at the statistics, a decade ago, 9% of South Africa's children were getting inadequate nutrition. The number is still 9%. And how that's measured is weight of children, level of stuntedness, inadequate growth, and so on. Why haven't we moved? Tanzania has moved up 30 places in the same decade. So I stand back and I say to myself, why is South Africa, who is the most developed, most technologically advanced country in Africa, why are we not moving in the right direction? Why are our children actually standing still?
And a question of interest. Why aren't we moving? Why isn't South Africa making a progress in the fight against hunger, especially considering a point you also touched on, that we're the most developed country in the continent? What's your point of view?
I suppose that's the million-dollar question, Jane. It really is. If I knew the answer to that, we could make such a substantial difference on this planet. I think it's got to do with focus. I don't think the children's agenda is high enough. I think at the moment there's so much political posturing in our country, so many political power plays, that perhaps we've forgotten the fundamentals. You just have to look at the Limpopo textbook saga. I mean, how can we even tolerate the fact that a child hasn't got textbooks 8 months into the year? It's just completely unacceptable. So I think the priorities are wrong, and we need to harness the multiple NGOs and bodies that work in this country for the benefit of children. We need to come together and we need to raise our voices, because the children are the next generation. They are the leadership in 10, 15, 20 years' time. If we don't educate the children today, if we don't look after their health and we don't look after their nutrition today, who's going to be leading our country in 20 years' time? How do we know that one of these children here is not the next Albert Einstein, the next Elon Musk? All of these fun, fantastic people, a great humanitarian. There could be a Nelson Mandela amongst this group of children. And who is looking after them in terms of their education, in terms of their nutrition, in terms of their health? We really have got to get the focus up in our government's eyes. They are the future voters. I know they get neglected because they're not the current voters, but we've got to make sure that they're understood as the future voters. That would be my opinion, Jane.
And finally, ending hunger is one of the Millennium Development Goals, the 2015 MDGs. Looking at the pace at which South Africa is working on right now, do you think we're going to achieve that goal?
Right now, no. We can't. I mean, we're falling down the list. We've got to take a long, hard look at ourselves. Do you know that South Africa last year became a net importer of food for the first time ever? We've always exported food. We've got this beautiful country. Look at this weather. It's the middle of winter. We've got the most stunning weather. We've got fallow land. There is over 50 millions of fallow farmland in South Africa. Now, why aren't we growing enough food? Why aren't we focusing on creating jobs in agriculture? There are hundreds of people who are unemployed, but instead they'd rather take a basic income grant than actually work the land and work in terms of growing food.
Even though Save the Children has been working in South Africa for the last 60 years, it is currently establishing a full country member office and reorganizing itself to better meet the needs of thousands of underprivileged children in the country. The organization is, however, active in 120 countries worldwide. Reporting for Channel Africa, I am Jane Matebula in Johannesburg.